Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. Going to give you an overview of the article here. There's a link in the description. In a few seconds, I'll play a video. It's quite disturbing. Need to give you a trigger warning. The video is going to show us about an incident that occurred October the 9th in Colorado. And a veteran, a homeless veteran that was living in his vehicle, his name Dalvin Gadsden, 29 years of age, was sat in his car. He was approached by three officers, I believe at least three officers. They asked him to get out of his vehicle, to stand up, put his hands up. He refused. And then very quickly, and we'll see this on video. I'll play the video a couple of times. We'll see that one of the officers grabbed at the veteran, Dalvin Gadsden, grabbed at him. The veteran resisted, tried to get back into the car, at which point another officer attacked him from the other side of the car. A number of blows, a number of punches, more than 30, definitely more than 30, were thrown, heralded at the man in question. And eventually he's removed from the vehicle. The struggle continues. It's quite distressing to watch. Then eventually he's handcuffed. He's completely bloodied. One of the officers complains that their knuckles are bleeding too. Some of the other officers have a good old chuckle at the whole events, the evening's entertainment. There's a lawsuit impending, so this guy is suing three of the officers and Colorado Springs Police Department. So that's pretty much a pretty thorough overview, but I'm going to play this video now, and again, I'm going to give you a trigger warning. This is one heck of a beating. Try to make a judgment as to whether or not you feel it was justified. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I'm kind of on the fence. I'll tell you why after.
Okay. Yep, you're under investigation for a DUI. Alright, so stand up, turn around, hands behind your back.
Hands behind my back. Yes, you're gonna be the same handcuffs. No, I'm not.
You're about to stand up. Victor 9-1 fighting.
Stop fighting me, bro. Quit fighting. You're assaulting me. I'm not assaulting you, bro. Get out of the car. Stop fighting, bro. You're under arrest. I'm not hitting you, my dog. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. All right. Let me get up. Let me get up. You ain't getting up. Hand behind your back now. My bro, let me get up. You're under arrest. All right, bro. Who is this? Bro, free me, bro. Bro, I know you. Put your hands on your back. All right, bro. You done? Flip over now. You're under arrest. I am under fire. Put your hand behind your back. Get on your stomach now. What the now? Not you. All right. What the did I do, bro? Stop, buddy. Okay, all right. Get on your back now. All right. I'm trying, but my brother. Oh, my brother. Oh, my God.
We are
Arm behind your back now. Right hand behind your back now.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I said right hand behind your back now.
We got two detained.
Yeah, that was... He just kept going back in. The knife was right there. That's when I was... I split my knuckles through my gloves.
on.
No, we got an officer who's just late. It's time for him to go home. His shift ended and he's still here. I don't know why.
Y'all had the guy that was with me. Is he gone? What? It was the guy that was with me that y'all put in cuffs as well.
Yeah, he's in cuffs.
There was a guy that was with him. Didn't really see that. It's not really mentioned in the article either. How disgusting, isn't it? How disgusting is it that these two, by the look of it, are having a good old chuckle? Here's a man who's been beaten severely at the hands of the officers. I'll tell you why he was beaten in a second. And they're having a good old chuckle about it. I mean, what gets me, like I said a minute ago, just before playing the video, that I'm in two minds. I am in two minds. But it is absolutely horrendous. I need to make that clear. I mean, it's an absolutely horrendous beating. I counted approximately 30 blows from the officer on the other side. I believe the one that said that his hands were bloodied, his knuckles were bloodied. Around 30 punches from a big, burly, perhaps steroid-ridden police officer throwing hammer fists. And that was just one of the officers. I believe he's suing 3 officers, as well as the Colorado Springs Police Department as a whole. So I believe it was 3 officers raining down on him whilst he was in the vehicle. And then we saw as he was dragged out of the vehicle, he was treated very harshly, very abruptly. Okay, so I think there's 2 justifications, potential justifications for his treatment. Number 1, his level of resistance. Okay, he was resisting, but I have to say to a very low extent. He wasn't given a chance to comply. They didn't really negotiate with him. You know, they said, we're going to take you. And he said, no, you're not. And then, bam, they try to grab him right then, like within a second. The time frame is within a second. Not enough to allow a human being the time, the mental space to be able to process the situation. Not enough. The officers didn't have to rush in. They could have taken things a lot slower, negotiated with the veteran, with the gentleman. Okay, he doesn't want to be arrested. He sees no need for him to be arrested. Why did the police see a need for him to be arrested? Well, let me tell you the heinous acts that this man has, the veteran has allegedly committed. The heinous acts that he's committed is that he was observed with unorthodox driving behavior. He was driving his vehicle at 15 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. So he was driving significantly under the speed limit. Now, don't get me wrong, that's illegal as far as I understand. Don't get me wrong, I think that is just cause for the officers to pull him over. Perhaps. The vehicle also didn't have a license plate. I would think that that's illegal. I would think that that would be just cause to pull him over. So I do think there's justification in pulling him over. I think there's justification in having a little chat with him. He was resisting. However, isn't that natural? Isn't that like, aren't we humans? Aren't we men? Some of us are men. This is a military veteran. This is somebody who's gone through military training. He served for your country, I believe. He was looking to re-enter the military. He's fallen on hard times. He's living in his car, but he's hoping to save money to get an apartment to go back into the military. He's guilty, perhaps, of traveling 15 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. He's guilty, perhaps, of not having a license plate on his vehicle. He's a man down on his luck. He's homeless. He's living in his car. Can we not afford this guy a bit of a break? This happened October the 9th. We don't know the time, but clearly it's in the middle of the night. He's traveling 15 miles per hour in a 45 miles per hour zone. But is there anyone else on the road? Does it even fucking matter? Why the urgency? Why do these guys feel such a need to arrest this guy? If he didn't want to get out of the car, have a little chat with him. Well, I'm sorry, sir, but you're going to have to, mate, because otherwise, we're going to need to pull you out of the car and do all of this. But they didn't give him, any reasonable amount of time. There he is, fairly calm, fairly cooperative. He says, no, I'm not going to get out of the car. So not entirely cooperative. He gets back into the vehicle and then all hell breaks loose. Now, we do hear one of the officers say that there was a knife in the vehicle. So apparently there was a knife in the center cup holder of the car. And the police are arguing that the veteran jumped back into the car to get the knife. But the police are full of shit. We hear the officer say, "Stop assaulting me." He's not the one assaulting you, officers. He's the one having the shit kicked out of him. So, I don't like this part here. I mean, he's still resisting, I think it's fair to say. Which isn't a good thing, but I would think it's natural to a certain extent. He's still resisting, and with that resistance, I would imagine that he's being very rigid, and I would imagine that being very rigid is going to make him liable to break bones. I don't like the amount of force that these multiple officers are putting on the man, not least the kicks to the chest, not least the continued punches to the head, but just like the pulling on his arms, the pushing on his neck. It's the wrestling of his arms like that. I mean, I could just imagine bones being broken, necks being snapped. This is pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad. He didn't require this amount. I don't know what the answer is. Perhaps the answer would have been tasing him, because tasing, as unpleasant as it is, as risky as it can be, tase someone, they're going to, all of a sudden, you're able to handcuff them, All of a sudden, they start to comply, I believe is the general rule. Anyhow, after the altercation, the veteran, Mr. Gadsden, was taken into custody and he had to be hospitalized. He was charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault on a police officer. He was charged with resisting arrest, driving under the influence, driving without license plates, and obstructing a police officer. A couple of the charges have since been dropped. So that's driving under the influence charge has been dismissed, and the charges of assault were dropped. Yeah, rightfully so. And that's pretty much everything. The guy is suing the bejesus out of the 3 officers concerned and the Colorado Springs Police Department. I would imagine that he's got a pretty good chance of winning his lawsuits. A pretty good chance would be my guess. I mean, he's been manhandled worse than George Floyd was, I would say. Well, I would say easily. He's been beaten by multiple officers. He's got a good chance of winning, I would think, or being given a handsome settlement offer. I don't think it's necessarily in the bag because there was a level of resistance, and allegedly there was a knife in the vehicle, which would give, I imagine, just cause to the officers to use violence in order to subdue the man. But yeah, there we go. I mean, I've rambled. I don't really know what my conclusion is. I mean, it's 100%. It's an absolutely hideous beating. 100%. I think there should have been more time given prior to the launch of this utter violence. There should have been an attempt to negotiate with him, I would have thought. Don't get me wrong, not a negotiation allowing him to get away with not being detained, but a negotiation just to give a little bit of time, a little bit of breathing space, a little bit of mental awareness, allow this human being to calm down mentally and to realize that it's in his best interest to comply. Just a little bit of time for that. I'm no expert, but that's my feeling. And at a certain point, the roughness should have stopped. And it only stopped when those handcuffs were on him. I don't know what the answer is. I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. Take care.